Hi everybody, here I am on Itamar Wednesday, and today's a difficult day. Today is a day that we are holding a memorial service for the Shabo family massacre and Yosef Twito, the head of the response team that was murdered trying to save their lives that same night, going back 8 years ago in 2002. What I want to do is tell you a little bit about that night. I was personally on the scene as a member of the response team. And this will serve as a memory for our dear ones. That day was a crazy day, because the day before, one of my students named Shmuel Yerushalmi was blown up at a bus stop in French Hill. And it was crazy because we didn't want the kids to come to Itamar to be tested. And we decided to have them being tested in Jerusalem. We figured Jerusalem would be safer. So what happens, coming back from Jerusalem to his home, he lives in Shiloh, he was blown up at a bus stop. And the following day, I attended the funeral, and right in front of me was standing Joseph Twito and Neriah Shabo. And little did they know, or did we all know, a few hours later they would be murdered on Itamar. And coming back from that funeral, I had promised my son Ephraim, he was a young child at the time, and it was obviously difficult to tell him what happened, and I promised to make him a barbecue. And it was very difficult. I just got back from a funeral. I said, how can I make this barbecue for my child? Doesn't seem like it's a proper thing to do after a funeral like that. But then again, I said to myself, what does a child know? He's only a young kid. I mean, what does he know? So I decided I'll just make him supper outside, and I put a little barbecue together, and I was trying to fan that fire. It just didn't go. And I had my rifle right next to me because there was a terrible feeling in the air. We were in a very difficult period for a very long time of terrorist warnings, etc. And here I am as I'm trying to get this fire to work. All of a sudden I hear boom, 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 like a banging noise. And at that very moment, my son Joseph comes running home, and I meet him, and he says, Abba, Father, do you hear the shots? There are shots being fired. And I said, no, those are not shots. That's someone banging with a hammer. And I said, something, Yosef? I listened again. I said, you're right. Quickly take Ephraim, go into the house. I grab my rifle and I start to make a run in the direction of the shots. As I'm running down the road, about 100 meters from my house, 150 meters, I start hearing noises, and I see a group of friends of mine from the response team and some neighbors of the Shabo house outside, and they quickly, my back was like sort of facing the Shabo house, and they quickly yelled out to me and said, Moshe, take cover. And I jump behind this garbage dump, and then we start trying to gather some information. There was a few of us only at that time there, and we started yelling out, to the guys that we were with, who was here before and whatnot. And we were told that Joseph Twito, the head of the response team, came out when he heard the shots. He went towards the Shabo house and he disappeared. Of course, we smelled like gunfire in the area, and we knew that something was very serious was going on. And never forget the feeling I had in my heart as we were yelling. Everyone was yelling, Joseph, 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 trying to see if he would respond. And we got no answer. I personally couldn't even say the words. I felt something was really bad was going on. And then we decided to make a lunge towards the Shabo house. And as we lunged towards the house, one of our medics who was a good runner, ran out, and immediately, together with another member of the response team, they spotted on the stairs Joseph Twito was lying on the stairs with a bullet wound in his head. And at that moment, a glance into the house revealed that the children were massacred in the house, some children. At that moment, everything was really very, very dark, and the terrorists began to open fire on us again from the house. Within minutes, the army shows up, and there was a crazy thing going on, and gunfire from the house. It was a really wild experience. It was a crazy thing. It was a crazy experience. And unfortunately, in that house, mother was getting ready for Shabbat. Rosh Shabo was preparing her bread. Her dough was rising in her pots, and her children were murdered in her arms, trying to save her children. And Joseph Twito, the head of the response team, was murdered trying to save their lives. And eventually the house went on fire between the gunfire that broke out, and the house, one of the children in the house lost a leg. That was thank God he survived, but Asa'el Shabo. And one of his sisters was also injured in the house. And thank God we were able to get them out of the house with the help of the army and special teams. And eventually Teres was killed, but unfortunately the terrible results of a mother and 3 children and Yosef Twitter were murdered that night. There's no words really to describe the feeling of that terrible incident. To see the father come running home, we have to stop the father not to get close to the house to see what went on. And unfortunately the pain that we feel as the people living here, and the family of course, that they never get over these terrible things. We feel that the world has to hear this cry. The world has to wake up and realize that this was a result of people that are bloodthirsty terrorists that just have one goal in mind: to wipe the Jewish people off the face of the earth, to throw us out of our land, the land that God gave us. And of course everything's always turned around and turns Israel into the villain, instead of realizing that Israel wants to live in peace. Israel always seeks peace, and Israel's the one that's been abused throughout history. But with all these difficult tragedies that were going on, and today we're naming our petting zoo after Yosef Twitter, who one of his dreams as an Itamar resident was to set up a petting farm to help children out and let them come and play with the animals and just be a nice place for children to come. And this special zoo is a therapeutic zoo which helps children from the high school come, and they deal with working with animals, and they work and on their motoric skills and their feeling of security, of self-security, riding horses, etc. It's really a wonderful program run today by a very special man named David Itzik, a very good friend of mine, and he was very good friends with Yosef Twitter as well. So this is a very special day, and that today will be dedicated to Yosef, in memory of Yosef. And of course I wish I was able to tell a happy story today, but this is obviously this whole tragedy, and it's a difficult day for all of us here in Itamar. But again, we wanted to reach out to you, and I think as you're our wonderful friends out there that are listening to us and involved with us, would be interested in knowing what's going on here, and it would help you connect more. So anyway, have a great day, and we will be in touch on a lot better notes in the future. Okay, it wasn't easy for me to tell this story. Bye.